You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
Eight opposition MPs in the Rajya Sabha, including the TMC's Derek O'Brien and Aam Aadmi Party's Sanjay, Singh and others, were suspended for a week for quote-unquote unruly behaviour one day after the passage of two controversial agricultural bills. The bills in concern that aim to liberalise the agricultural market have been triggering massive farmer protests out in the states of Punjab and Haryana ever since the Monsoon Session began. But the discussion on the bills has now turned towards a discussion on parliamentary democracy as well, with questions on whether parliamentary rules were bypassed in the passing of the bills. What had started as a peaceful debate on 20th September took an unprecedented turn with broken microphones, papers flying in the air as the bills got passed by a voice note and not a division of votes, despite the opposition parties making a demand for it to the deputy chairperson. While the government moved a motion for the suspension of opposition lawmakers for quote-unquote bringing disrepute to the House that led to the suspension of the 8 legislators, the opposition has been accusing the centre of passing what they term as anti-farmer bills without the required numbers in rampant violation of parliamentary rules. So can a division or vote be denied in the parliament? And have there been contraventions of parliamentary conventions in the Rajya Sabha in the passing of the two bills? For this podcast, we spoke to Mr. Chakshu Roy, who leads the Legislator and Citizen Engagement Initiatives in PRS Legislative, and senior journalists Aarti Jairad and Javed Ansari. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you. And I'm your host, Shorbury. The two bills, which are the Farmers and Produce Trade and Commerce Bill and Farmers Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill, were meant to replace the ordinances that the Modi government had already promulgated earlier in June this year. But from the very beginning, these reforms that the central government has been pushing for in the agricultural sector have been under criticism from both farmers and agricultural experts. And recently, farmers' organizations also announced a 3-day Rail Roko Andolan between 24th to 26th September. For more details on what these reforms entail for the agricultural market, you can check out a previous episode of The Big Story in our show notes. But how the ruckus in the Rajya Sabha began on 20th September was when the Deputy Chairperson, Harivansh Singh, rejected the demand from the opposition benches to end the session for the day at 1 p.m. as per the schedule. Had it ended on time, the passage of the bill would have spilled over to the next day, allowing the opposition more time to move resolutions against the bills. And following the chairperson's rejection, several members, including Aam Aadmi Party Sanjay Singh, TMC's Dola Sen and Arpita Ghosh, stormed into the well of the House raising slogans. But in an unprecedented episode rarely seen in the upper house, a few of the opposition lawmakers also climbed onto the table in front of the Secretary General. And in that process, the microphones of both the Secretary General and the Deputy Chairman were broken. And TMC MP Derek O'Brien also allegedly attempted to tear the rule book, an allegation that he denies even though it has now gotten him suspended. And amid all the sloganeering and all the chaos, Harivansh Singh rejected the amendment moved by CPIM MP KK Ragesh against the bills. The House was then adjourned for 15 minutes and the bills were passed via voice note after it was reconvened. Now, while the government has called the passage of the bill a watershed moment for the agricultural sector, the opposition claims that the deputy chairperson displayed an unlawful partisan attitude in disregarding the demand for a division of votes on a resolution to send the two bills to a select committee. But can a division of vote be denied? We spoke to Mr. Chakshu Roy, who leads the Legislator and Citizen Engagement Initiatives in PRS Legislative, and he explains how voting in Parliament takes place and what happens when members ask for a division of votes.
Voting in Parliament takes place in two ways. One is voice voting, where MPs either say aye or nay when they are supporting or opposing a particular motion in Parliament. In this kind of a voting, there is no record kept about which MP was in favor of the motion or which MP was opposed to the motion. When MPs want to record whether they were in favor of a particular decision that the House took, whether it was passing a bill, whether it was about taking a particular course of action, then they can ask for a division. A division is voting, but it is recorded voting. Now, in recorded voting, each MP's vote is recorded, and the MP can vote either in favor of the motion or opposed to the motion, or they can abstain. Now, division is a right of an MP. Any MP can ask for a division. And when an MP asks for a division, the chair usually grants that division. But in some exceptional circumstances, when the House is not in order and it is not possible to do recorded voting, there have been cases where division or the request for a division has not been acceded to.
While the 8 MPs got suspended the next day on 21st September, a no-confidence motion was also moved by 100 lawmakers from 12 opposition parties against Deputy Chairman Harivansh Singh. But just after the 0 hour, as Chairman Venkaiah Naidu slammed the MPs for their behaviour, he also rejected the no-confidence motion against his deputy. But one of the allegations from the suspended members of the opposition has been that the government bypassed the division of vote because it didn't have adequate numbers to pass it. Would the bills not have been passed if they had to go through electronic voting? Well, that's difficult to say, but we know that there have been resistance from even the NDA allies regarding this bill. While the Shiromani Akali Dal was clearly not going to vote in favour of the bill, with even Union Minister Harsimrat Kaur Badal resigning from the cabinet last week, the BJD, the TRS and even the AIDMK all expressed concerns about these bills. But irrespective of whether the government had support or not, why has it been accused of stifling adequate parliamentary discussions or scrutiny by parliamentary committees on its policies and bills? Should it have passed the bills with more care? Senior journalist Javed Ansari says that the government should have gone the extra mile to ensure that dissent or queries on the bills are not being stifled.
Look, there is no doubt that the government's decision, especially the manner in which they have gone about it, lends credence to what the opposition is saying, that their voices are being stifled and that there are not many avenues available now for the opposition to air their views, to ask questions of the government or to, raise queries. The government has cited the extraordinary situation on account of the corona pandemic, but nonetheless, the government should have been more sensitive. I mean, the heavens wouldn't have fallen if the government had agreed to refer these bills to the select committee and allow for a discussion. They should have made an honest, it's not enough to be doing the right thing, you also have to be seen to be doing the right thing. They should have tried to accommodate and assuage some of the concerns of the farming community. Forget what the opposition is doing. Politicians will always try and milk a situation for their political ends. However, farmers across large parts of India are extremely agitated. I am given to understand that 25th onwards, this is going to take on an all-India dimension, the farmers' agitation. So therefore, the government should have made a transparent effort to accommodate the concerns of the farmers, which unfortunately, in the way it has gone about things, they've not done, and it's had a totally, it has had a very inflammatory effect.
In the 18 sittings of the Monsoon Session of the Parliament, the Centre intends to bring 11 bills to both the houses for passage. And debates and scrutiny from select committees are important aspects in the passage of a law. But is the recent episode from the Rajya Sabha a sign of parliamentary democracy being compromised? Senior journalist Aarti Jairaj Bezin.
Yes, of course. Parliament as an institution is being heavily compromised because Parliament is meant for discussion and scrutiny of legislation. But if you're passing bills, without any discussion, without the normal thing ever since the select committee, sort of convention was adopted, is to send a bill to a select committee where a small group of parliamentarians belonging to the opposition and the ruling party sit and discuss every clause of the bill threadbare. And that's what the opposition wanted. They wanted these bills to be sent to the select committee so that they could be discussed.
Right.
But, the government just rode roughshod over that demand and passed it by voice vote. It is really unprecedented. I mean, as I said, voice votes are meant for bills that are, on which there is a consensus.
Right.
So you pass it unanimously by voice vote. But bills that are contentious are, have to be debated, have to be discussed. And the best forum for this discussion is a select committee where a small group of people can sit and, look at the bill more closely. And then come back to Parliament for a larger debate, which is not happening. I mean, bills are just being passed without debate. Even the budget is passed without debate. What to say of important, this agricultural bills are very big because, very important bills because you're changing the entire structure of, the marketing of agricultural produce. And I think farmers have a lot of concerns. That's why they're out on the streets. But the government has chosen not to listen, to forget about Parliament. They're not even listening to voices from the streets.
If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. For any feedback, shoot an email to podcasts@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.